innovation corridor look like for me, both in concept and in reality geographically? You know, a very challenging question, but I would say that you do need a center of gravity. That's one thing that I have always been. Any big shopping mall, they need an anchor, right? They have big stores that are anchors, and the anchors provide to help bring in the smaller stores, right, in a shopping mall, just to use an analogy. So I think with an innovation center for success, you need an anchor. You need a centralized point that you can see those outshoots and the growth of the innovation, but you have to start within a center point, a centralized area, and hopefully spawn the growth from that will trickle down into the other areas within the Middle Georgia region. So in terms of specifically, where is that point? I don't know. And there's wonderful opportunities for many places within Middle Georgia to establish that. But I do believe that there needs to be a centralized point that we can then grow and expand from.
The innovation corridor could look a lot of different ways. And if we're talking innovation, it doesn't have to look brick and mortar. It can look a virtual organization. And when you talk geographically, the bigger, the better, in my opinion. I mean, one of the great strengths of Middle Georgia is that when you look at Middle Georgia as an entire region, you run the gamut of all the strengths that you would need to be successful in a community or here in Middle Georgia. So the more we leverage everybody and the good that we have in all of our communities here in Middle Georgia, the more successful we'll be.
So I'm a visual, so conceptualizing an innovation corridor puts me in the mind of a multi-directional hub. So you've got kind of the center of the universe, but the arrows go in both directions. So things are coming from the hub, going to other areas, and then coming into the hub as well. So conceptually, whatever the corridor or the center of the space looks like, there's inputs and outputs to and from that space. Geographically, same thing. I think it needs to be closely centralized to be accessible to and from wherever the destination points are. So whether it's fiber optic hub or whether it's a physical hub, I think it's very important to make sure it's centrally located to be able to reach and get access from all of the other destination points.
Innovation corridor in Middle Georgia, it already exists. But conceptually, that corridor are all the communities that are on the leading edge of innovation, especially Robbins Air Force Base, Houston County, and Bibb. But of course, it also has to include all the great work being done in our communities and businesses across the region. But really, the focus needs to be on those higher end technologies, the robotics, the automation, and the new technologies that we're bringing on board in this region. And again, that also includes things like precision agriculture. So making sure that we're bringing in our rural communities into that, I think, will be a benefit for Middle Georgia. Precision agriculture includes software, robotics, all of the things that we would need at Robbins Air Force Base and across the community.
The concept is the creation of a local ecosystem of skill, competencies, and shared values. Often in healthcare, we are missing some skills, or we're missing some elements or some assets or resources. And so playing with industry partners or our ecosystem is vital for us to be able to innovate together. It's a collaborative act. And so together we can co-develop and build that inclusive future so that's for the concept. It's about co-developing with the actors, the local actors in the communities we serve, for those communities and with those communities. But finally, I want to stress that our Middle Georgia Innovation Corridor is different because we're not in a large urban center. You hear about innovation initiatives in large cities that have a lot of resources and a lot of people and talent. And in our case, we're different because we are regional, we're a corridor, and we do include a good mix of urban and rural areas.
So when I think about an innovation corridor, the concept is the intentional connecting of the people, the places, and resources around innovative thinking. So conceptually, it is making sure that the individuals who want to innovate in an area know about those places, those resources, those people that would want to work alongside them in that effort. From a physicality perspective, I think it's an effort to connect the end need with those individuals and resources that want to be innovative. And so from a physicality standpoint, I think it is, locating the assets and the resources and the people near the end need, but also recognizing the fact that people will choose where they want to live, work, and play. And so whether those businesses start in Houston County, Bibb County, Crawford County, Peach County, they should know about and have access to all the resources within the region to move their ideas forward.
Well, geographically, I think is the 11 county area that has been put together to kind of build the program. But basically, it's a swath in middle Georgia that's kind of outside of the influence area of Atlanta and not quite down into the agricultural areas of South Georgia. So it's a swath in the middle there that's heavily supported by secondary educational facilities and colleges and universities, as well as the workforce development programs that are going on at Warner Robins Air Force Base and the areas surrounding that. So you've got those anchors in there to kind of build on that program. And I think that is what sets the scene for having the product that people want. So the corridor to me would look like a half moon cut through the middle of central Georgia that shows, again, connections through software, but also connections through employers and through educational facilities that would include from as far west as Fort Valley State, as far east as the universities in the programs in Dublin and Macon and up through there. So I think it's kind of that central Georgia sweep we talked about.
So I think it would probably incorporate most of the state. I mean, you look at what resources we have in the state, from the Augusta area with the Cyber Center, with the Atlanta area, with the Columbus area as well. There's an abundance of talent in this area. This middle Georgia area is central to that location, and it's close to everything. So we have the educational abilities, we have the job growth and the resources here to invest in that corridor.
Oftentimes when we think about Warner Robins, right, a lot of times people will drive to Atlanta, but in their head, when they think Warner Robins, although it's so much closer, they think about, oh, I'm taking a road trip, but you're not, but like, when I think about geographically speaking, what this innovation corridor would do, it would remove the layers as far as us thinking that we are so far away. Like, it will remove those layers in a sense of thinking that we can accomplish so much together as we are striving to build in our different sectors. And it's such a healthy ecosystem where we work well together. Right. So that way we can know how to remove any pain points that we might be navigating through.